name is Thorsten. I'm the host today for Angels and Gurus podcast, and I'm very glad to have James from the Keto Dessert Company as our guest today.
Thank you.
Welcome, James. And I think without further delay, we can start. So how did you come to the Keto Dessert Company and to the Keto Lifestyle? And can you give a brief summary about your background?
Yeah, so I grew up with martial arts as a kid. So I've always been into fitness, health, and wellness. But I didn't know anything about how bad sugar was. Like everybody else, we grew up eating, breads, rice, pastas, and candy and cereal. So I didn't know any better. I just thought, okay, if you exercise, great. But as you got older and as I got older, I learned how bad that excess carbohydrates were for you. But I didn't know that it was bad enough where I needed to reduce my carbs. Because as you can see, I'm not overweight. My carbohydrate reduction was when one of my best friends passed away from a seizure. And that the keto lifestyle came about. It wasn't for weight loss, which is what a lot of people use it for. It was initially for children with epilepsy. It's not just sugar, that we think of that's in like a candy bar, but excess carbohydrates would exacerbate their epilepsy. And when my friend passed away from that, I was only 20. He was 19. No, he was 18. So he was in high school, last year of high school. And I was like, man, what can I do? That's crazy. He has to take medication for his seizures. Someone told me, did you know that sugar is not good for epilepsy? And I was only in college, so I didn't know any better. In 2004, I started looking into the dangers, or I guess the why sugar is bad for you. So that's kind of how I started slowly, not just reducing my sodas, the Coca-Colas, the Pepsis, the Sprites, but I started realizing the breads, the rices and pastas are just as bad as the Coke. It didn't occur to me until I looked at how to read labels. And so from that point on is when I started to learn about the balance, right, of how many carbs to have versus how many carbs not to have. I look at it like an allowance. So if I gave you $20 and you don't spend it, and then the next day I give you $20 again, that's $40 that you haven't spent. Whereas if you can spend the $20 today that I give you, then tomorrow you can start fresh again. So, you don't want a fat wallet. You want to use only what you need. And when I started learning that, I realized breads can quickly add up, rices and pastas are just as bad if you're not using it. Started in 2004. Now, fast forward to the future, to answer your second question, when did I start the company? What happened was I was a martial arts instructor, and I met my fiance at the time, and she was looking for a trainer. So we both. I was actually her martial arts teacher at the time, and she wanted a private instructor. She wanted to keep it within the martial arts family. And she says, well, what's your secret? And I said, well, let me tell you, bread, rice, and pasta. And so then I kind of got her on board, and she realized quickly how it adds up. And her being part Mexican, the beans, the rices, or the tortilla, when I retrained her brain, she was like, man, so she was on board, right? And so that's kind of how she got on keto. What really made us start the company was when her best friend had cancer. Sugar and carbohydrates, again, in excess, can feed cancer. Not every cancer, but there's a lot of research and evidence showing that sugar and carbohydrates can feed that. And so when she really dived into that, she said, okay, well, let's give her some desserts at the hospital that are not necessarily sugar loaded. And so after her friend passed away, we're like, there has to be a company out there. This is 4 or 5 years ago. There has to be a company out there that has these sugar-free desserts for people that are, whether they have cancer or in the case of my friend with epilepsy. And there wasn't. So we waited. We wanted the Oreo of keto. And then fast forward, we were like, okay, if no one's going to do it, let's kind of futz around and see if we can make something. And then that's kind of how we started with that. And then we quickly realized the need for not just sugar-free. So you'll see a lot of times, like at the buffets, right? They'll have a lot of sugar-free desserts. And you're like, man, that's cheap. Well, just because it says sugar-free doesn't mean it's low in carbohydrates. It just means that they're not adding sugar, but they're using different complex carbohydrates to fill up the volume. You don't want excess carbohydrates, whether it's simple sugars or not. So the ratios they talk about is roughly 5% carbohydrates, And it doesn't matter if it does come from sugar, as long as it's 5%, right? So as long as you're burning it off. So a lot of times it's misleading. But yeah, so that's where we come in. And we're not just sugar-free, but we're low in carbohydrates. So like, for example, a pretzel, well, it spikes your insulin and glucose just as much as a tablespoon of sugar.
Can you please explain to our listeners what keto is and what does it mean? I mean, we learned so far that is a reduction in the carbs, in carbohydrates, but when there is a reduction in carbohydrates, then the body gets less energy, or there has to be something where the body can take energy from. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So your body can either run on ketones or glucose. So in a ketogenic lifestyle, or we talk about ketosis, right? It's about not how much fats or how much protein, but the lack of carbohydrates so that your body can switch over from burning glucose, bread, rice, and pastas, to whether it's body fat or food fat, so like a steak, the fat, and that's a lot more efficient. The term keto or ketosis or ketogenesis, is the process of using fat as energy, whether it's exogenistic, whether you're supplementing with butter, to get in calories, or your own body fat breaking down from lipolysis. So you have lipolysis, which is the breakdown of your own fat, which turns into ketones, and ketones would be the energy source. So if you're in a state of calorie deficit or you're fasting, or you're doing carbs or no carbs, you'll be in a ketogenic state. So like at night, when you're fasting at night, right, you're not eating at night, always be temporarily in ketosis.
So this can also be the intermediate fasting, when you keep, for example, 16 hours without eating.
Yeah, you'll switch over, you'll start depleting. So we talked about the allowance, right? So you'll start going from, let's say, $20, or in this case, $20, and you'll start using it. And once you get down to zero, body's going to go, I need energy somewhere. Where do I get it? I didn't get it from food. I didn't eat the broccoli or the Snickers bar. I need something. I start looking for body fat, and the body fat is going to break down. You're like, you can't physically feel it, but what happens is the brown adipose tissue, the fat, converts into white, the physical, actual active energy, creating ketones. And ketones will turn into energy, the ATP that we talk about, right? So whether it comes from carbs or fats, the power pack, the juice, right? So the gas. Break down the fat from the absence of food, whether it's carbs, proteins, or fats, right? Like you said, in the fasting state, they switch over. Brain's going to go, I need energy or else I'm going to die. And it has to. And you're always going to, unless you're at 1% body fat, you're always going to have a source of energy.
That's interesting with fasting. And once a year, I did a fast for, I think, about 7 to 10 days. Yeah. And I ate nothing, just some broth and water and tea. And after that, I realized my brain was so clear. I got so much focus. And I think this was the ketones, or this was because of the ketones.
Switched over from hydrates, your brain running on glucose. Because remember, glucose or carbs has 4 calories. Ketones or fats have 9 calories for the same gram. So yeah, you're getting more energy, dense energy for the same gram. So when you were fasting 7 days, you're really utilizing those calories. So that's why you're feeling very clear, and you're burning clean. It's almost like going from crappy oil to really high quality oil in your gas. So the same thing, as soon as you switch back to carbs, you're going to go, oh man, it's different. I get the sugar crash. Yes, you're absolutely right. So when you're running on ketones, right, as a source of energy, your brain is phenomenal, great for Alzheimer's prevention.
Okay, great. Is there a special group of people or age for keto, or can anybody do that?
So anybody can reduce their breads, rices, and pastas. Again, remember, there is essential carbohydrates. There isn't, right? We always talk about, oh, is it essential? There's essential fatty acids, meaning without the fats, your joints, ligaments, tendons, you cannot live. But when someone says, oh, carbohydrates are essential, there is no essential carbohydrates. Plus, when we think about carb reduction, the first thing people think is, oh, I need to get rid of my vegetables. If you're going to get rid of your carbohydrates to reduce them, cut out the foods that are processed. So breads, rices, things that require a process. Like vegetables, you can eat raw. Is if you can eat it raw, then that's great. And then in moderation, with fats too. So that's something people need to think about. It is at any age, you can eat real food. I would say if you're going to have cereal or carbohydrates, I would wait till you're much more active in life. But even then, some of the top marathon athletes now are not running on carbs. They're not running on Gatorade. They're running on fats because they're realizing you're getting 9 calories versus if I'm running against you and you're running on carbs, you're going to be burning 4 calories. I'm going to be burning 9. Really, at any age, you can start eating whole food. So I would say carbs should be age restrictive, and you shouldn't have them as a kid as much as we do. I hate to say this, overweight kids. It's not because of the steak they're eating, it's because of the excess chips. I would never deny a kid vegetables. I would never deny a kid spinach or chicken or fish. But if a kid or someone comes up to me and says, can I have Cheetos or can I have, a naked juice? No. So eating real food, there is no age limit. Eating fake food, I would say wait till you're opposite, right? The opposite of the food pyramids, unless carbs, more the real foods. You can eat raw and no age limit.
Okay, that makes sense. Great. I think we can only cover just a little part today. So we will continue some other day, but can you please tell us something about your products? Just a brief overview. What is special about the Keto Dessert Company? So
we came about this company, again, like I said, because there wasn't a market for there. So we have a wide variety of products ranging from cheesecakes to muffins. And we wanted to come up with something that not just was the profile with low carbohydrates and low sugar, but something you would think, oh man, my grandma made that. Something that you would think was made from real ingredients, right? We wanted something that didn't taste like a cardboard box, but something that your mom or your grandma would make. And we wanted to find a niche for that. And it took many years, obviously, to come to where we were. But then people like you found us and said, man, we would like to partner with you. We see that one in Oceanside, which is where your storefront is. And we wanted to help out tea shops and yoga shops and studios and coffee shops to fill that need so that we can really get that market going. Great. We appreciate it. And our customers also are looking forward for a new delivery. Yeah. So I think that's where we come in, is we want to help out mom and pop stores and get the message out. In our case, I think we have the knowledge, we have the gold mine, right? So we want to educate people, let people know, look, I know you like this stuff, but we have something not only that tastes better, but is healthier for you. And sure, you can go to the supermarket, but also think about us when you buy your next dessert, and it's a great exchange. You become healthier and you're supporting a local business. Where can people find out more about the Keto Dessert Company? So you can either go to Angels and Gurus Instagram, and if you have a website, or you can go to our ketodessertcompany.com. I'll put the links below, or you can go to our Instagram or Facebook, Keto Dessert Company. Okay, great. So it was a pleasure, James, to have you here for the first episode. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. So make sure to like and share, and we'll see you next time. Okay, see you next time. And thank you, James.